lives, no matter if it's starting a business or being entrepreneurial within an organization. No matter what you choose to do in your life, I think these skills that we'll be talking about are really critical and important. So that's kind of the inspiration behind this. And the way it will work is each chat will focus on one skill and tool. You'll have a resource that you're working through as homework, and we'll, the next time we meet, talk about it and then talk about the next one. And so it's really, the idea is each chat kind of builds off of the other. And today I'll be giving you a big picture of what they'll all be looking like, but then we'll hone in on the first topic, which is resilience. So a little bit about me. You've heard I'm an entrepreneur. I started my business by accident, but the real story is that I was 19 years old and I studied at the University of Florida in Gainesville, and I was very lost. Is anyone in here kind of lost? Like you don't really know what you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing? And newsflash, you never lose that feeling. No, but I wish someone would have told me that. I think this is kind of like the evolution of, you're always looking for the next thing. You're always looking for, what else am I made for? What else can I do? How else can I impact? So I think that's kind of like the journey. But at 19, I really felt pressure to choose something. And I felt like there was so much that I hadn't experienced or explored. How could I possibly choose something at 19 years old? And I changed my major 9 different times. And my friends were all studying finance. And so I chose finance as my major, honestly, because my friends were studying, not because I really loved it or thought it was what was meant for me, just because everyone else was doing it. And I guess I'll do it too. And so my vision at that time in my life was, I will graduate, I will move to New York, I will work on Wall Street, just like all my friends say that they're going to do. And then everything changed the day that my friends invited me to go shopping with them. And I had no money to my name. I had a scholarship that barely covered my expenses. I did not have any extra money for anything. But I decided to go on the shopping trip with them, thinking I'm not buying anything. I'm just going to look at all the things I can't afford to buy. And we walked by this store, and there was a pair of jeans hanging in the window. And it was kind of like the jeans were like glowing at me. Like I saw them and I was like, oh, I love those jeans. I will do anything in the world to buy them. How much are they? $100. I didn't have it. They're $99. Didn't have the money. And so I thought, what's something I can do to just make $99 and buy these jeans? And my first idea was, I'll put an ad on Craigslist to clean someone's house. And I grew up in a home, my parents are not entrepreneurs, but my grandparents immigrated from Palestine to the United States. And so they were very entrepreneurial. They started a restaurant, a hotel, trying to make, their own way when they moved here. So I think I had their example and grew up in that, but my parents were not entrepreneurs. And as a kid, I was always very into business. I had a babysitting service that I never had any customers for. I figured out a way to make fake nails in school. I would just put drops of glue in my desk and you could peel it off and stick it on your nail, and it was fake nails. And then I would sell them from my desk at school. So I was always into these little projects and things, but I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. So here I am, 19. I want these jeans. I put an ad on Craigslist. And I think it was just my childlike entrepreneurial spirit that was just manifesting in that moment. And a woman hired me. I charged exactly the price of the jeans. I did a terrible job. I mean, terrible. I had no professional cleaning experience. She had a huge house, and she actually kicked me out of her house. I was there for so long that she was like, you need to go. Our time here is up. And I didn't even finish the house, but she paid me and I bought the jeans, and I thought that that was the end of the story. And the next day she called me. She said, I have a proposition for you. She said, what if I teach you how to clean and then I hire you to clean my house every week? So that's how it started. And her name is Melinda. She is still a client today. And Melinda is an entrepreneur herself. So maybe she saw something in me. I don't know. But she taught me how to clean, and that's how it began. And then she told her friends about me, and then they told their friends about me. And the turning point really happened right before my last year in school, 21. I got offered a contract to clean 800 empty apartments. And Gainesville, I'm sure it's very similar to where you live. There's a lot of student housing because the university there is large. And so they needed a lot of cleaning companies to be able to clean these apartments when students move out of them in the summer, when they're, that change of semester. So I signed this contract and I didn't really have any employees. I mean, it was just me, and I think I had hired a couple of people that were helping me, but it wasn't a real business. It was just for all of us, it was a way to make some extra money on the side, while we're in school. So this contract required me to have a team. And I put an ad on Craigslist again. That was my go-to back in the day. And I hired 60 students. And it was like the first 60 students that applied, they got the job. At the time we had a GPA requirement. We don't have that anymore, but it was you had to have at least a 3.5 GPA. And I did that because I needed a way to quickly screen applications, and I had a 3.51 GPA, so that was the cutoff. And then I later realized, a GPA does not define who you are. It doesn't show your values. I know plenty of people who didn't have great GPAs, didn't even go to school, and they're phenomenal, amazing people. And then I know people who have 4.0 averages and they don't have values that are in line with integrity and et cetera, et cetera. So, I had to learn that lesson. But long story short, I hired a team of 60 people, and here we were to clean these 800 apartments. And at that time, I still wasn't seeing this as my future. I just saw this as, let's do this, let's make some money, and then I'm moving to New York to go work on Wall Street. And I had this really defining moment, and it's going to be something we talk about in terms of resilience. 3 days into the contract, 45 of the 60 people that I hired quit. They just walked off the job. They said, don't want to work here, don't want to do this job. And at the time, I didn't understand it because I was, clueless as a leader, never led a team before, right? I thought, how could they do this? How could they walk off the job? They committed to the job. It was only 3 weeks. But when I think back, the job itself was really hard, cleaning toilets for 8 hours a day. I didn't know to give them a water break or a lunch break. I didn't even think of that. I had not, I didn't even know to do that. I didn't know all their names. I didn't go and check on them. I was not a good leader, but I was learning everything for the first time. So I knew I had to get them back. And I went to the 15 people who had not quit, and I told them what happened, and I begged them for their help to come up with a plan to win the team back. And together we came up with this plan. And the plan was, we had an emergency meeting, and we said, if you come, you'll get paid early. So everyone wanted to get paid early, so they showed up. And I remember just being honest and saying, look, I have no clue what I'm doing. I've never done this before. Clearly I messed up. I'm so embarrassed because I don't even know what to apologize for. I don't even know what I did wrong. I need you to help me. And I still think to this day, in the last 14 years, that was probably the most important leadership lesson I've ever learned, which is, when you mess up, just admit it, just take ownership of it and ask for help. And we don't need to pretend that we're perfect, and that we don't need to let our ego get in the way. And I was just honest and authentic, and they gave me another chance. And so that was my moment that changed everything. It inspired this obsession in me. I wanted to learn how to be a leader. I wanted to learn how to build an amazing company that treated people really well, where people were really happy to be, where they felt like they belong. And so I turned down a job in finance, and I decided to stick with Student Maid, which is what I ended up calling the business. And here we are 14 years later. And there's been a lot that's happened. Along the way, I realized that cleaning was never what I was passionate about, ever. It's not why I started. It's not why I continued with the business. It may be how it started, but it wasn't like I couldn't wait to clean the house. It's just I needed to find a way to make the $99 to buy the jeans. And that was an easy, fast way to do it. But what I became passionate about early on was this idea of helping people grow and helping people become the leaders that they dream to be. And maybe there's something preventing them or blocking them from getting there. Maybe it's their mindset. Maybe they don't have the tools. So Student Maid essentially became a school. We clean toilets, but what we really do is we teach people how to be leaders. And our whole purpose is, let's invest in you and teach you everything that you need to know to be successful. And then we'll launch you off into the world to go make your mark on the world. And we just made a really big, bold, brave, courageous, and scary as heck decision that in May, which is our 14-year anniversary, we are transforming from student MAID to student MADE, which means we are no longer going to be cleaning. we're selling that piece of our business, and we're going fully into the student leadership development space. So everything that we teach our students at Student Maid, we want to teach it to students all over the world. So there's a lot that's happened. And I think, one takeaway from this so far is, I think when I was in college, I was so focused on the final destination. Like, where am I going to end up? What is my, I was so focused on finding my passion, because that's what everyone kept talking about. What is your passion? What is the thing that you want to do in your life? And I just think the Student Maid story shows that you have no idea how taking one step could lead to another step, could lead to another step. Like, who would have ever thought that by me cleaning a house, here I am saying that I have a company that is teaching students how to be leaders all over the world. You just never know how taking one step could lead to the next step. And I actually think the advice I wish that I would have received is, don't focus on the final destination. Enjoy the journey, take a step, and then don't worry about the next step until you take that step, one step at a time. I think that it's more important to know what you don't like and what you're not passionate about. And I think those things eventually lead you to what you are. Me changing my major 9 times, I learned 9 things I wasn't passionate about, and so I would just encourage you, if you're in that space where you feel like you need to figure it out, you don't, you will, one step at a time, and just embrace that. And it's okay to feel those feelings. And I don't know if those feelings ever go away, because now I'm here and I'm like, where am I going next? I think that's kind of always the question. But we're here today to talk about resilience. And there's going to be 3 core things that we focus on in our coffee chats. Today is resilience. We're doing a session on core values. And then we're doing a session on what's called limiting beliefs. So I'll give you kind of a high level, and then we're going to really hone in on resilience. So resilience is the muscle that helps you get back up again, right? And how do you develop that? How do you grow that in yourself? How do you constantly strengthen your mindset to be more resilient? So we're going to talk about that today. Then we're going to move into core values, which is really important. And this is like the compass that you use in your life to make decisions, to decide which opportunities you go after, which relationships you choose to end or keep. If you have a company, it could become the values of your organization. It could become a compass for which people to hire and which people to let go, and which clients you work with. And so, having values that are clearly articulated, so much so that they can actually help you make difficult decisions. We'll talk about that. And then the last session is around limiting beliefs, which is understanding what's happening in here, our narrative, and how it can either hurt us or propel us forward, and kind of understanding what things might be going on in here that are hurting us, and how do we reframe that, and what things are actually helping us, and how do we harness that and do more of that. So that's like the big picture of our sessions. But today is about resilience. If I were to ask you what resilience is, what do you think it is? You can put it in the chat, you can come off mute. How would you define resilience?
Being able to just keep moving forward regardless of what comes up, any obstacles.
Keep moving forward no matter what comes up. I see in the chat, not giving up. Does anyone feel like you are having trouble with resilience right now because you used a lot of it in 2020? I feel like that. That's a normal feeling. Yeah, 2020 required a lot of resilience, right? And it might feel like our resilience reserves are running low. And the thing is, in your life, you may have certain seasons of life that require a lot of resilience. Like if you want to build a company, it's not going to be an easy ride. That's the point, right? If it's something hard, it's usually meaningful. And so there's going to be those ups and downs, and there's going to be seasons where you need a lot of resilience. Like right now in our company, this is a time where as a team, we need to be using our resilience to get through this transformation that we're going through. And so the question is, how do you build resilience when you really need it? And you might feel like, I don't have a lot of it. And the resource that you are getting, you'll have the link after the session today. It's a link to building something called a resilience resume. And what I've learned is that you can build resilience in the now by looking at the past. It's this idea of learning to see a challenging time as an opportunity to grow, learning to see that even though it feels hard and even though it feels uncertain and even though whatever the feeling is that you have in this moment, that because of your past and what you've been able to get through, that you're going to get through this just like you got through everything in the past. It's how do you learn that confidence? We in our company teach it through something called a resilience resume. So here's what you're going to do when you get this resource. It's going to ask you to make a list of all the hard things in your life that you've been through. So you think about from the beginning of your life to now, what are the times that have challenged you the most? They could be times when you've really screwed up. They could be times where maybe you felt uncertain, you felt afraid, you felt unsure. Just the times in your life when you think of the most challenging moments, what are they? And you make a list of them. And then next to each one, you identify what was the gift that this gave me. Like what did I learn from this? How did this experience make me better? How did it somehow take me to the next step in my life? Is there anything about this experience that now looking back, I can identify, oh, it gave me this. And I think that's really important because it's possible for something to be very hard, very, feelings that aren't positive feelings that we associate with it. And also for there to be some kind of lesson in it, that it changed us in some way. It made us who we are. And it's not that we want that thing to happen again, but it's that we can see, oh, it changed my mindset, or I now do this because that happened. Or so that's the exercise. And for example, the 45 people walking out on me is at the top of my resilience resume. I mean, I felt afraid, uncertain. We had so much work to do and I had 15 people left. I was embarrassed. I was frustrated. I didn't know how to get back up. I didn't know how to get through that. And when I think about what I got from it, well, I learned that when you fail, you take ownership of it. I learned that when you don't know what to do, you ask for help. I learned what leadership wasn't from that, and I began to learn what it was. And I think that that's the moment that caused me to turn down the finance job. So now looking back, I can see all of that so clearly, but I can't see the moment I'm in so clearly. Does that make sense? So in a moment like now, like I'll just tell you this week, I had a rough day this week because going through transformation is hard. There's a lot of ups and downs. And I had a day where my confidence in myself was like not where it normally is. And so what I did is I looked at my resilience resume, and in 5 minutes, I was reminded of all the things I've been through, like 45 people walking out on me, what I got from them. And I'm like, oh, I got this. I can do this. And yeah, I've never been through a transformation like this before. We've never been through a pandemic like this before. But I'm sure there's been times in our lives where we have felt similar feelings, right? Has there been any other time in your life where you felt uncertain? Has there been any other time in your life where you felt stuck or, defeated? Or yeah. And so not only did you survive, you probably learned something from it. It probably shaped you in some way, and so that's the idea. So when you get this resource, there's a lot that you'll read a little bit about resilience, and then there will be an activity for you to do your resilience resume. And if you can really dedicate your time to doing this is something that you can use for the rest of your life and just keep adding to it. And when you have those moments where you feel defeated, you just look at it. There's also a piece in the guide that talks about a team resilience resume. And this is really powerful if you think you want to own a business, if you're on a team right now, let's even say it's an extracurricular group that you're a part of. Sometimes as a team, you need to find motivation together to get through something, to get through something hard. And so what we did as a team is we made a team resilience resume. What have we been through as a team together? What are the times that have challenged us the most as a team? What did we learn from them? And then in a moment where we might feel uncertain together, it's like, oh yeah, we got this. Just like we got through all of these things in the past. So it's really powerful. And another thing to think about as you're doing this is, what is your relationship with failure? Because failure and resilience are very connected. I think that a lot of people, it's very sad, and maybe this is your experience, grow up learning that failure equals shame and perfection equals love, and we have to be perfect. And I grew up with the opposite. My parents pushed us to fail and I hated them for it, but they would be like, yeah, I'm not helping you with your homework, because if I help you with your homework, then you're not going to be able to answer it on the test. So sorry. Guess you have to get an F on your homework and go to school and sit with your teacher and figure it out. You know, that was their philosophy, and I hated it, but now I'm thankful for it because I don't fear failure. You know, I'm just like, okay, if I fail, I learn from it. That's kind of the lesson I learned growing up. But if you're someone where you didn't have that growing up and you've learned that you have to be perfect, that's what's going on in here. The thing is it can prevent you from doing things. It can prevent you from taking action, from trying things. The only way you can build resilience is by going through hard things. You don't build resilience when everything's perfect. So if another reason you might have trouble in a hard time like right now is because you haven't been trying things, putting yourself out there because you're afraid to fail, and therefore have not been building resilience. If you're looking at your resilience resume and you don't have a lot to put on it, that could be a sign that you're not challenging yourself. You're not taking risks. So how can you do more of that? And I think the key is just understanding and acknowledging what that relationship with failure is. And once you acknowledge it, then you can say, okay, how do I want to change that? You know, and I think just, I like to say, do it scared. If there's an opportunity that you think, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, or what if I don't get accepted for that, or what if I try this and it doesn't work? Well, you'll learn something. You know, you'll learn something. What would be the worst thing that could happen? And just try. And that's been always my mentality. Just try, just try, just try. And I've learned that even when it doesn't work out, I always learn something, and I'm always grateful I tried, even if I failed. I'm grateful. Last thing on this is when I had to make the decision to either take the job in New York or stay with my company, I didn't know if Student Maid was going to succeed. At that time, we were making no money. I was like, well, this could really fail. And then I might regret not taking that job that was actually a 6-figure job. But at the time, I remember telling myself, well, I'd rather know. I'd rather try and know than live my whole life wondering, what if I had just tried? You know, I didn't want that question to be in my mind. So I said, I'm going to try. And if it doesn't work, I'll figure it out. So I can't wait for you to go through this guide. You'll be getting the link. Nadine, tell us how they're getting the link again.
So what's going to happen after this meeting is you'll get an email from the entrepreneurship email where you got this link for this Zoom session. We'll be sending you the guide for that with instructions, and also providing the link to the next session for Kristen. So we'll be discussing resilience, developing your resilience at the February 19th coffee chat. So we'll include the guide as well as a link to sign up for the next session right after this call.
And so what the next session will look like is it's going to be a very interactive. I want to hear about your experience doing the resilience resume. I want to hear about your ahas that you had while doing it. How has it changed your mindset? And then we're going to kick off the next topic, which is about identifying our core values and kind of my story with that, and what that did for me as a leader and as an entrepreneur, and how you are then going to be able to do it too. And I just can't wait. So I can't wait to see you. I mean, that's not too long, right? It's like a little over 2 weeks away. We'll be back here in the Zoom room, coffeeing it up and talking about our resilience resumes. Sound good? All right, I always end with a Zoom hug. So here you go. You don't have to hug me back. And I'll pass it back to Nadine.
Yes. So thank you for joining us every day for our session today. So again, the next one will be February 19th. We'll include the Zoom link in the email we send out to you. That'll include the handout that Kristen, the handout and the worksheet. So make sure you do that ahead of time and have it prepared for the February 19th event. Again, thank you so much for coming today and coming to our Troesh Center event. Again, we'll be hosting numerous events throughout the semester. So I put the link to our startup tree in the chat, and you'll also get in your email as well to join us for our events. Again, our next one's next Tuesday with the founder of Swell Bottles, Sarah Kaus, a Q&A with her. And I hope to see you at all of our events. If you have any questions, you reply back to that email, and the Entrepreneurship Center will be able to answer that question for you. And again, always check our startup tree for our events. But thank you again, Kristen, for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you. Hope to see all of you again with Kristen on February 19th. And thank you for coming today.
Yay, and if you don't mind, smile. I'm gonna take a quick picture for our social media here. You don't have to if you don't want to, but there we go. Happy Friday. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.